Right, this is something which I need to put into my system. We'll just take a look at this. This is being reduced. That's this original price. These seem to have been falling out of favour, and what it is basically an electronic transformer, but the electronic transformer is 0 to 50 watts. So this can handle LEDs and also the halogen bulbs, these things. So we'll have a test and a look at that, and just to see. Now this is, you can see the ends of it. This is soldered. This is actually a soldered end on that, and the other end is also soldered, like this. Now, one of the things that, certainly in my past when I wired things for a commercial company, is that soldered ends going into a wired a screw terminal is a big no-no. You never do it. And in actual fact, the only time I've ever had an issue with a wire terminal or a screw terminal is actually because of solder. So the thing about solder is it moves. Basically, if you put it under pressure, it's a bit like ice, and that can actually loosen up over time. And so what you think was a good connection then becomes a loose connection, and then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where the solder moves away, the tin and the various other elements that make up the alloy. Even with something like this, I had one where it actually came loose and it started to heat up, but it didn't heat up so much that it started a fire, but it was hot enough to actually melt the plastic. The choc block, the thing that I used, was contained. I worked for this company and I had to wire basically some high voltage kit, and you know, for, I can't remember, it was an oil rig or something like that. But anyway, the long and short is that they produced a lot of electrical items like this which were soldered, and they said to me, you know, you shouldn't be using soldered ends. But I pointed out that that's exactly what they did. They, just like this, they soldered the ends, and they said, well, actually that's just a convenient way to transport it so that these things don't splay about. Let me show you a few things that the reason why these. So when you solder, and you solder into like a terminal, a solder terminal, you've got to be careful about solder creep. So you can see with this, if I move it, like, can't really see how far that's gone, but that will tell me the solder's actually crept that far back. So we'll take a look and see if we can pull that back. Let's see how far the solder, oh dear, that's not good. Yeah, so you can see that the solder has actually crept that far back. So it hasn't actually gone a long way. But you will probably find that also the acid, the flux, is also gone that far back, or a lot further, because the flux tends to lead the solder. So we'll take that off anyway. I don't want these. I'm going to re-terminate the ends. So let's just take this, and then so I'm just grab the ends like this, and I'm just going to push it down and pull. You should actually just change that, but that's not it. So anyway, let's put the ends. And with this, I'll just twist the ends like so. It might be on the wrong side. Twist the ends like that. Now, if they were going into a terminal and I wasn't going to take it out, then I'd be quite happy to use it like this. But if you're going to potentially take it out for whatever reason, testing it, then what you'll find is it will probably break some of the strands, and it may not go in exactly perfect. So what I'm going to do here is just put bootlace ferrule on that. Let me just deal with this side as well. I know that for the terminal I'm going to put this into, I need about it to be about that long, and then I can take the ends off in the same way. So that is a bit short. Let's do that again. Do them together. That's about right. That's a bit long. So I'll just press those again. So with the bootlace ferrules that I'm going to use for this, you want to try and get the, you can see that the gauge of this is probably just slightly bigger than the gauge of the other one. So this is the 240 volt end, and this is the 12 volt end. So let's make sure that those are like that. With the ferrules, so you get a selection with these. Oh, this is a happy pack I bought of just the ferruled ends. So the trick with these is to find the smallest one that will go on. So with these ferrules, I don't know if it's so clear. Let's see if we can get that to focus on this. You'll see that there's a flared end and a straight end. So it's like a trumpet almost, and that's the end that it goes on first, and you sort of spin it. So with this, I'm going to take this end, and then I'm going to put it on. So with this, you twist it until the wire is twisted together, like that, held together and twisted. Oops. And then what I do is I put this on and twist it. I put it on really easily, so if I do that, I can get a smaller one than that. Which one's smaller? That one's smaller. Can I actually use this? No, that's about the same size, isn't it? Some of these things are quite difficult to tell apart. So is that smaller than that? Does look like it. Right, okay. So I don't know. Let's take a look with this. So I just close that. So it's 1.5. 1.3. 1.3. So that is definitely the smaller one. I think this is the 1.5. Yeah, so that's the slightly bigger one. So I'll just put that there. And there. Let's see if we can put this small one on. Again. Trumpeted end on first, which is wider. And as you twist it, it pulls the ends of the wire together. And if you do it right, it will hold the wire without displaying it. So you can see it's starting to go on, but it's not really going down. That tells me that one of the wires is caught and it's trying to push that down. So let's pull it out, twist it again, and we'll try and put this back on again. And see, so this is just too small. So I'm going to go back to this one. I'll put this on, which has gone really easily. And I'll take the other one. I'll put that on too. It's getting the trumpeted end first. And put that on. And then I'll crimp those. Right, so I crimp the ends and they're just too long, so I'm going to just take those off, just ever so slightly. Right, so that's the ends done. Now this, I don't know if I'll be able to get that in, because let me just put these ones back. These ones are too small. That way. Let's pull this one. No, again, it's just ever so slightly too big. The wire, this is too small. So I'll put those back. And I'll go for the next size up. So that's this one. So you can see, next size up is 1.8. That's the diameter, outside diameter 1.8. So I think this is going to be huge as it goes on the edges. So it's 1.8 up. So again, as I said, I'm taking the flared end, not this end, which is just like a tubular end, but the flared end, and then putting that onto this piece of wire here, like so, with giving it a twist. Now I missed that, I can feel that I've lost one of the strands, so I can't really see this, my eyesight isn't actually that good, but I can kind of feel it when it goes on. So when you twist it, it pulls all the strands, and as you twist it round, it pulls them together. So when you put the flared end on and twist it, so I just got to get the flared end onto the end, but as I twist it, it pulls the wires together, and that's how you can get it on like that. Even something that you can barely see, you can just feel it. It goes on. So let's do this. Oops, let's do that again. And as I said, if it's just going into a terminal, you're never going to remove it, then you can just put it in as wires. But if you're just going to put it in, take it out, put it in, possibly testing or for whatever reason, then it's better to crimp those. As I said, I've made these too long. You can see the wires sticking out at the end. So I'm just going to take just the tips off. I'm going to do that again because I've taken not enough. There you go, perfect. So the next thing, let me show you this. So this is one of those ends. I haven't crimped that, I have crimped this one, and you can see the wires are kind of splayed on this one. And so if I pull it like this, digging my fingernail into this and pulling it like that, you'll see that it straightens the wires, but they're all splayed. Now I can't just put this on like that because the wires will not come together. So I twist it like so, and so the wires are just twisted together. And again, as I said, you use the flared end, the trumpeted end, and you put it on like this, and you can see that what I've done there is I've caught it and there's a wire loose. See that? So I'm going to do that again. So I've got the trumpeted end on. And that's gone on nicely, and as I twist it, you can get a sort of feel, because as you twist it and push it down, if it catches any of the wires, you'll feel the friction. So that's gone perfectly. And so even though my eyesight's a bit dodgy, and you can probably see this better than I can feel this. I can do this by almost like feel. So I just need to get it pretty much close enough, and then the rest is done by feel. And these things are copper. They're not the ones you would use commercially. The ones you use commercially tend to be a lot thicker than this, made of brass, and they're put on usually by a machine or something. But these work perfectly, because the only reason I do this sort of thing with this is so that they don't splay, and you can put this, sort of into the screw terminal a few times before it sort of gives out. But the commercial ones, they're much heavier duty brass. You can put those in terminals and they don't distort at all. These will, but this really just keeps the wires together, or the hairs, the whiskers together. So okay, I've got this, I've got those, so let's start putting it together. So I'll take that, and then I'll back these out. So you'll notice this is too big, but I'm going to use it anyway because I don't have any others. But I've seen so many people use terminals that are too big, but this, although it is too big, well, it is big, not too big. Anything that's too big is just not any good. But it is on the big side, it's on the large side, and tend to want to try and get the stuff that's appropriate. So when it's like that, it is often better to put it into, or have these sort of terminal ends on it. So let's put this side on. So that's on. Let's just take a quick look and see how much that is distorted. So this is commercial, those wouldn't really distort, but you can see on this that it has is pinched the end. Let's put that in again. So I haven't really crunched these in because I'm going to take this out again. So with this end, I'm going to be putting it into this terminal. This would not be on here normally. This is actually going to go into, I think it's a 1.5mm twin and earth, but with the earth cut back. With this, I couldn't cut the earth back, so I just twisted it back. So consequently, this isn't really how you'd set this sort of thing up. So this is just purely for test purposes. I'm doing this. So let's just turn that like so. I'll put that in. Let's see whether or not these will go in. These connectors are horrible. I hate the way I don't seem to. I just so awkward. Right, okay. You might be asking, why don't I use something like a Wago connector? The main reason for it is, one, these tend to look better, and two, I really don't like the idea of Wagos. A core of these cables like so. So strain relief goes on there, is onto this thing, which is the sheath, and so it holds the sheath. And these things here, now I've not had a screw terminal come loose other than that one time, as I said, when one of these, and I didn't actually fit that. It was fitted by an electrician, so I don't know how many he would have done, but obviously didn't know. And considering it's something that I've seen quite commonly people do, and somebody even recommended that that's what they do, is to just tin the end instead of actually using tinning the end is the worst thing you can do. If you're putting it into a screw terminal, is the opposite of what you want to do. You're better off using nothing and having, sort of badly stranded wires than trying to do that. So anyway, okay, that's all in. Unfortunately I can't get this on because of this, so what I'm going to do is just temporarily, and this is not a recommendation, and as I said, this isn't something I would do normally, but it's just for this video, test purposes, but just to keep that closed, I'm just going to wrap a bit of tape on. So I've got this end which is on a plug. Let's put that away. And we'll bring in here, this is, so I've got my unit, I've got this, so right now I've got this here. Let's see if we can get this to connect. Right, okay, I hope that's visible. Don't want the voltage. So we have this thing here. I'm going to keep my hands away from that. Well, I don't need to really, because this thing here, my def connector there. So I've got this here. So we're going to start off with a 3-watt bulb, and that's on, isn't it? So let's switch that off. Let's try switch it off again. Okay, so we can see, if I switch it on, so you can see the voltage and power here. And we can see watts wise, this is using 6 watts. Is this 6 watts? Let me just check. .5 watts, according to the legend on the side there. Don't know if that's clear. Let's try that again. Yeah, 4.5 watts. So according to this thing, if I switch this on, it's using 5 watts. Okay, let's try this one. This is supposedly a little bit more. This is, don't know if you can see that. Let me just check. 6.5 watts. And this is, oh, I must admit, didn't look at power factor. You got power factor on this, so the power factor is 9.5, so that's quite a good power factor actually. And it's saying it's 8.8 watts. And the nice thing about this is, unlike a lot of these transformers, electronic transformers, this will go all the way up to 50 watts. So I'm not sure what this is. Let's see. We'll soon find out. So this is showing up as 50 watts according to this. And it's got a power factor of 1, and it's also getting very hot quite quickly, so let's switch that off. Now I've had these for a number of years using these. These are dial LEDs on this, and they've worked absolutely beautifully. I've had absolutely no problems, no overheating or anything like that. So this, which is a Varilight, you can use for LED lighting, or if you need to, for whatever reason. I've got some of these in different colours, so if I ever want the place lit up in various different coloured lights, then I can actually just drop these, the coloured versions of these in, and then I've got a coloured house. But there you go. So this is an electronic transformer, 0 to 50 watt, and I hope this was interesting to you. Thank you for watching.